Jessie, and have I got a story to tell you. It all began one summer evening. I sat at my window drawing. I do a lot of drawing. There's always something new to draw on this street, and that night was no exception. Who are you, chum? Never seen you before. Literal out. I thought about shouting out, but maybe not. Besides, the rapper had gone. Somewhere.
Jessie, time for bed.
Okay, Dad. That's my dad. And yes, I suppose it was late. Time for bed. Little did I know that as my day was coming to an end, something across the street was just beginning. Yeah, you've guessed, haven't you? Our mystery man is a robber. Now I know what you're thinking.
Gloves!
Not the smartest crook you've ever seen, right?
My hands! My glove! Where is it?
Now remember, I was asleep at this point, so I don't know how he got away, but he did. When the police arrived, the robber was nowhere to be seen. Next morning. Who are you, chum? Turns out he was a detective. I didn't catch his name, so let's just call him Detective.
You live across the street?
Mm-hmm.
See anything suspicious last night?
Yep. I gave him the drawing of Mr. Litterlout. Not one of my best, but I thought it might be useful.
That's interesting.
What?
You've drawn him without any gloves on, but what's this? Silly, silly man. We'll get him. He's left his blood behind. That means he's left his DNA behind too. He might as well have left his name and address.
Why? What's DNA?
Don't you know? Why, it's, let's find out. We need a scientist.
Okay, we've got a sample. Now we can run a check on the DNA against all of the criminals in our database.
Wow, how do you do that? I still don't know what DNA is.
Or how it works.
DNA is the material that carries all the information about how a living thing will look and function. Each piece of information is carried on a different section of the DNA. These sections are called genes.
I've heard of genes. Is that why we look like our parents?
Yes, that's right, Jessie. Genes pass on physical traits from parents to children, like your hair colour, eye colour, and how tall you are.
So is that why I have red hair like Mum's and green eyes too? Is it all because of DNA and genes?
Yes, it's called heredity or inheritance. It's all the traits passed on down through the generations. But DNA doesn't just exist in humans. DNA is found in almost all cells in every living thing, from a panda to a worm, an oak tree to a blobfish, a woodpecker to a strawberry.
What about in my hat?
Well, I do like your hat. It's a lovely hat. But I'm afraid your hat doesn't contain any DNA because it's not a living thing.
That's fascinating that all living things contain DNA, but what does DNA stand for?
DNA, deoxyribonucleic acid.
Pardon?
Deoxyribonucleic acid. It's quite a mouthful to say, deoxyribonucleic acid. That's why we just call it DNA instead.
And what does deoxy...
What does DNA look like?
Have a look at this.
DNA takes the shape of a double helix. The double helix looks like a twisted ladder, or two pieces of intertwined string. It is very, very tiny, and scientists need to use very powerful microscopes to see it. Even though it is tiny, if you unwound and linked together all the DNA strands in your body, it would stretch over 110 billion miles. That's hundreds of trips to the sun and back.
Whoa, that's amazing. But how can DNA help us solve the crime at the jewellery shop?
Well, using the DNA found in this glove, we can analyse it and search for a match on our DNA database. Everyone's DNA is unique.
Ah, I knew that bit.
So, if we find a match for the DNA, we found our robber.
Great. Can you let us know when you get the test results?
Certainly. I'll give you a call.
Sometime later, we were back at the lab. Edna the scientist had found the DNA match.
It's Fred Smith. That's the man.
Ha! That's definitely the man you drew in your picture, Jessie.
Got you, Fred Smith. You litter lout. But Fred Smith had actually been on holiday for the last 2 weeks. Edna explained that officers had already been to his address and eventually tracked him down on holiday. He had an alibi, as he was definitely away at the time of the robbery. But then Edna said the police told her something amazing. Fred Smith has a brother, a twin brother. In fact, an identical twin brother. His DNA isn't in the database, and his name is John Smith. They both look exactly the same, so my drawing could be either one of them. But surely, if DNA is different for everyone, then it will prove which one it is.
Unfortunately, identical twins have identical DNA. There's no way of proving which of them was the robber. You can't charge them both for one crime, and that means they'll get away with it. Now, if only there was a fingerprint at the jeweller's. That's the one thing that is different for everyone, even for identical twins.
I don't even know why we're here. The police dusted the whole place for prints. Nothing.
What about the...
No, nothing. The police looked for evidence on the walls, the grass, everything. The Smiths got away with it.
But don't worry, they didn't get away with it. Let's go back to the jewellery shop for a second. A Mars bar. A Mars bar! He was having a Mars bar before he went in. Before he
put his gloves on.
Now that's pretty cool. We got the fingerprint off the wrapper and cracked the case. The police had enough evidence to arrest John Smith. They had to let Fred Smith go as he hadn't done anything. This time. So there we have it. Crime solved by science and the wonders of DNA. I told you I had a story for you, and I've got some new inspiration for my art.